Hello, my name's Liz Rowlinson, editor of Plate in the Sun, and I'm here to talk about Greece today, house hunting in Greece with Elxis, a home in Greece. Good morning. This is Giorgos, you're going to pronounce that correctly, Gavriidilis.
Very well, Giorgios Gavriidilis, yeah.
Good to see you. Well, Greece is having a bit of a great year at the moment. It's very popular with our readers and viewers on the TV programs. So we're going to cover some really interesting aspects of how to buy a property in Greece, some legalities, how to move there. So thank you for that. Could we kick off with just telling us briefly what your company does?
Yeah, our company does the legal handling and the real estate work for clients who want to buy a second home in Greece. I'm a lawyer myself. I'm a senior lawyer. We have a team of 7 lawyers, full-time lawyers who are specialized in real estate law. So we have a full package of services, which begins with, let's say, looking for a house, and then do the very proper legal handling, buying a house. And after that, for some regions of Greece, if people want, we can also do the renting and the maintenance and cleaning. You cannot do it everywhere because you need really to have infrastructure and qualified personnel for that. But in Crete and in some other places, in Corfu, for example, and some other places in Greece, we also do that. So we have a real one-stop shop. Our company exists for more than 30 years. It started in 1991. So yeah, we're pioneering in a new product in Greece, which is a total concept of finding a house, doing a very proper legal handling, and then enjoying a return on investment from your home. You can do the whole thing if people want it.
Perfect. Thank you, George. So, my first question is I kind of half know the question. How popular is Greece amongst buyers at the moment? It is popular, isn't it? Why?
It is very popular. And I give also the seminars and the real estate exhibitions about buying a house in Greece. And my introduction is always, why Greece? And I always say that I can talk hours about why Greece. Greece has a very nice climate, has the biggest coastline of the whole Mediterranean Europe. It has very low prices compared to other countries, the neighboring countries. It has a lot of history, culture. It has 142 inhabited islands. It's a sailing paradise. That's no wonder why people just keep coming on Greece. Greece has a very high demand for people who want to rent a holiday house, but also people who want to invest their money and make a mixed use it themselves, and also rent it out with a very nice return on investment, really.
Perfect. Well, yeah. I mean, what's particularly popular right now with buyers in terms of types of property?
Our most popular region is Crete. It always was, but it's no wonder. It has the best weather. Yesterday in Crete, we have an office in the south coast of Crete, in Plakias and Rethymno. It was 27 degrees and people were swimming. It's November. It's middle of November. It has the best air connections. I mean, there are direct flights from the UK and all over Europe the majority of the year. So 11, 12, sometimes 12 months you have direct flights. It has very good prices. It's an island, but it's a big island. I mean, it's not, I go to Crete for more than 40 years and I haven't seen it all. It's 260 kilometers and there's 2 very nice big mountains with mountain villages. So it has a lot to offer to people, and people can, when they want to rent out their property, it's very easy for the clients to get into Crete with very affordable prices. So Crete is #1, and then we have the Ionian Islands, Corfu, Lefkas, Kefalonia, and the coast of the mainland in Greece. The Cyclades, the islands around Mykonos, Paros, Naxos, and the Peloponnese. These are, let's say, the 4 more attractive regions of Greece to buy a house.
Perfect. So getting into some nitty-gritty, what are the buying costs on buying a second-hand property in Greece and also a new build?
There was a differentiation, but the last couple of years it's the same. So the obligatory costs are the transfer tax, which is 3%. And the notary and the land registry together, it's about 2.2%. So the obligatory costs are about 5.2%. That's a general guide. Of course, when you use a real estate agent and a lawyer who is necessary in Greece in order to assist the client, the total cost, we can have a general rule. If people have something like 9% in their mind, they're very accurate in their calculation. So the total costs are about 9%. For new build, there used to be VAT, which was 24%, only the VAT tax. But this was put aside by the Greek government some 3 years ago in order to help and promote, let's say, the building, tourist building activities. So in 99% of the cases now, the costs are, as mentioned just before, so about 9%.
Okay.
If you use an agent and a lawyer, so the full service.
Great. Yes, we always suggest using a lawyer. So what is the what's the typical time scale from completing the whole purchase process?
I mean, if everything goes okay, and if there are no particulars who make things complicated, like many owners, sometimes complicated questions, I'd say something like 3 months. I mean, people have to get a Greek tax number in order to buy a house, and then the buyer has to collect some documents to file a digital, let's say, a digital file. They have to upload to the ministry that everything is okay, all licenses are okay. I have to mention that the Greek government has done very good job the last years. There's no notary allowed to proceed with a deed unless the house is 100% according to the building license, or has been subject to a legalization. If there's, let's say, a storeroom or something which is not 100% exactly according to the building license, you have to, the seller has to legalize it first, and then the notary is able to draw up the deed. So all clients can be sure that the houses sold in Greece are legally 100% okay. This is something which started some 5-6 years ago, this rule.
Okay, thank you. What about briefly, if I want to go out on a viewing trip to look at some properties, any tips for that?
Yes, don't make a very big list of properties you want to see, because it's not going to work out. I would say make a good selection, make some preparatory work with the agents or the people or the sellers, and make a short list, which is short, 3, 4, 5 houses, no more than that. And I'd say a long weekend is enough. I mean, if you've done your homework and you know the whole procedure, and that's something we pay a lot of attention. We want our clients to be very well informed before they get into the plane, so that when they're there, the only thing that they have to do is to find a nice home, and then we take it over and do the legal research of the house. But I would say you don't need more than 3-4 days when you picked up your region and also the houses which are suitable to your budget and your wishes, something like that.
Any idea about time of year to go ideal?
Of course, when you go in the summer, everything is open, everything is blossoming, everything is nice. I would say especially when you want to go and live more permanently in Greece, the fall and the winter is a very good time to see the worst case scenario. How is the village or the city in the winter? So let's say the more clever, I don't know if we can say that, but if you want to really know how the property is, I would say the winter and the spring is a very good time. In the summer, everything is open and all shops are open, all tavernas, but when you want to live there for 9 months or 10 months a year or 12 or all year round, it's good to know how the place is really. So I would say serious people and clever people go also in the winter, preferably in the winter.
That's a very good point, because it is very different in some areas. So
yeah, of course.
And do you, when people come for a viewing trip organized through your company, do you drive them around, or do they hire a car and you meet them at different properties? How does it work?
We don't drive people around, and I mean, everything has its cost. I mean, in some countries, you have organized trips, and an agent goes with 2, 3, 4 couples, and they drive around, they see properties. Sometimes they get accommodation and food, but the third or the fourth day, they're supposed to leave a down payment. Otherwise, people get very angry. We are absolutely against this practice. Our approach is we want people to choose us and not buy or die. We would, because nothing is free. I mean, when I do something like this and I pay you the ticket, sometimes we get questions, do we pay us the ticket for the inspection trip? No, we don't. What we do is we have a very honest approach, and we want people to, we help people when people want to have an accommodation, and of course we know the areas, we make suggestions, but we leave people, we want that people go around and see also the region themselves. We don't treat people as cattle who go together with us and then they're supposed to on the third or fourth day to leave a down payment and make commitments. No, people have to choose and on their ease, and that's the best approach. I mean, we can facilitate things, we can help people, but we don't push.
Yeah, I think that's what people prefer nowadays, I think.
Yeah.
So, when people see a property they like, is it customary to make what we call a cheeky offer, of 10% or 5% below the asking price? What's normal in Greece?
With existing houses, it's very common to make something like this. In new build projects, mostly that's not the case, because the developers and the builders, they've made their calculations, they know what things cost, and the last couple of years after the coronavirus and the Russian invasion in Ukraine, and all the energy price and all the price rises we've seen, many developers really burn their fingers. So they won't give you a 10 or 20% discount. That's, I think, almost impossible. But instead, they can give you something extra. So they can give you the air hose or a heat pump or something like this. So you can make some deals which for them cost less, and for the client, I mean, if the client had to buy and pay, it would cost I don't know, 5, 10, 20,000 euros. So in that area, you can make some pretty good deals.
Okay. And from as an estate agent, when I am a buyer and I want to buy, what am I going to need to sign with you? Am I going to need to show my passport? Am I going to need to open a bank account? What are the basics?
Well, let's take a typical example. You go on an inspection trip and you say, okay, I want to buy this house. We, as a company and as a legal team, we can take care of the whole procedure from that moment up until the land registration of the registration of the real estate at the land registry. So people leave us a power of attorney to act on their behalf. We can do everything except paying the sum. So the critical things, the paying things, we don't want to get involved with money. We can facilitate the whole procedure. We can make the letter of intents, private agreements to get the down payment, and also sign the notary deed. So what people need to have with them is a passport, and with that passport they can leave us a power of attorney. And with that, we get a tax number from the taxation office in Greece on their behalf, and we complete the whole procedure. Generally speaking, a house goes off the market when there's a down payment. So there are no free options in Greece. I mean, you cannot say I want to think it over for a month and take it out of the market. A house goes out of the market when a down payment is made. The amount or the percentage of the down payment is not fixed by law or any regulation. So it's free, it's negotiable. Most of the agents in Greece, they ask for 10% down payment. We as lawyers do not recommend that. We as lawyers want people, I mean, to make a commitment. When you say, I want to buy something, there's a down payment needed. But we try to keep it 5% or a bit lower than that, because when you pay with a private agreement, of course, you have a civil claim if something goes wrong, but we don't want people to pay or to send £50,000, and if something goes wrong, to have to go to court or whatever. So we try to keep it low, and most of the times, in the UK, most agents ask 10%, but it's more to secure their payment, and sometimes they want it in their own account. I mean, Greek agents or English agents in Greece who sell houses, but that's not by law. That's not obligatory. So if you want to just give £3,000, it's also okay. It's just a commitment. So we try to protect our clients without letting them pay huge amounts of money. Because if a house costs 1 million, 10% is 100,000. So we wouldn't be very comfortable as lawyers to let our clients just send wire money to somebody they don't know. So we do it like that. Okay.
If I want to rent out my property to when I'm not using it, to help cover its running costs, are there any rules on that? What taxes might I pay?
Yes, it depends if you rent it out as a private person or as a company. When you do it as a private person, there are 3 scales. The first scale is 15% for rental income up until 12,000 euros per person. So for a couple, it's 24,000 euros. So the first, let's say, taxation scale is 15%. And then from that, it goes to 35, and it goes up to 45 for much higher, for the excess of each scale. If the house is bigger and the income expectations are higher, it might be, and in most cases, I mean, there's a threshold at about 600,000 cost price of the house, because you have also higher rental income. Then it's most of the time better to do it through a Greek company, which is very easy to establish. The company tax is 22%, and the dividend tax in Greece is very low. So if people want to get dividend out of the company, the taxation is only 5%. So it's very, very interesting to do that. But it's mostly for houses which are a bit more expensive, and it's worthwhile to do that. And you can deduct all costs. There's also a depreciation of 4% on the house every year. So you have, the only thing you pay is, let's say, the 22% tax after deduction of all costs. So it's quite profitable to do business in Greece. Would you
recommend any particular areas if you've good for rentals? I mean, I suppose it's the popular holiday resorts, for example.
I mean, my friend, what I just said a couple of minutes ago, it has to be easily accessible. So you come down again to Crete, the Ionian Islands, Corfu, the Peloponnese, and the islands of the Aegean Sea, of the Central Aegean Sea. People, when you want to rent it, you have to make it easy for people to get there.
Yeah.
So if you see a very nice picturesque house on a mountain and you like it, it doesn't mean that it will be a success rental-wise. So yeah, when you want to also rent it out, you have to take also the distance to the sea view, the swimming pool. I mean, even if you're beachfront, people want to have a swimming pool to have a drink on the night or for the children. So it's very important to have some aspects when you choose the house to give special attention to. Yeah, but the most important is accessibility. How easy and how cheap can I get there?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, Greek tourism is
Yeah.
booming at the moment, so I assume there's quite an opportunity there. Great. So we've talked a bit about the legal process already, but of course we've said that you need to use a lawyer and sort of how long the process takes. From the word go, even before going to view the properties, the buyer should get in touch with a lawyer, shouldn't they?
Yes, most of the times it goes the other way around. They go to see a property through an agent, and when they like property, the agent says, now you need to have a lawyer, and I know somebody, so you get in their own, let's say, I mean, you see, I mean, they get you in their own, let's say, existing working team. But it's good. What we do with our clients, we have mostly we have an intake with one of our lawyers before clients get into the plane. We explain the whole procedure, and so people know what to expect. Because most of the times people just go there knowing nothing, and of course every country is different in the legislation and in the procedure of handling a purchase deed. So I would say when you have serious plans of buying a house and you have planned a trip, prepare a little bit yourself and have a little chat with a lawyer before you go. I mean, ask other people who bought a house, because there are lawyers who do very well job and they explain everything, but there are also lawyers in Greece who take it for granted that people know the procedure, but a foreigner, how should a foreigner know the procedure? So I would say make some preparation. We also send our clients, let's say, a summary, a resume of the procedure, of the costs or everything. So I would say make some preparation, and just when you go to buy a house, just yeah, the only thing you have to do is say yes or no if you like something and you have your finances settled.
Okay. And who organizes the notary?
We do it. I mean, the only thing the client has to do with us is leave a power of attorney. We make when let's say we have sales, we have account managers. When people go to Crete, let's say, and they see a house, they see an agent of ours. And then when people say, okay, I'm going to buy it, then we have a handover to our legal team. So people have a Zoom call or a video call with our lawyer who introduces him or herself, and he sends them a plan, let's say, of what's going to happen. And people get all the steps in advance, and they know what to expect. And when we do something, we inform them, today we're going to do this, tomorrow we're going to do the next step, we get a tax number for you, and now we're going to make a letter of intent, and you do the down payment. So the only thing our clients have to do is just give us a power of attorney when they decide to do business with us.
At what point should they open a Greek bank account?
It's not necessary to open it from the very beginning. So you can buy the house and you can pay not having a Greek bank account. But when you have the house and you have to pay the utility bills and everything, it's very handy to have a bank account. So the next time I mean, when you buy the house, after you settle down a little bit, you go to the bank and they ask for some documents and you open the bank account. So, but it's not per se needed from the very beginning, but it's very handy. So I would certainly recommend it.
Thank you. Briefly, is there anything key about if people are buying off plan before the property is constructed that they should know?
They have to make, and we help with that. I mean, when you do something like this, it's also a matter of trust and continuity on behalf of the builder. So they have to check out a little bit the history of the builder, who's building, what has this company done in the beginning, in the past. What we do when we do off-plan sales is we always try to, with the very first down payment and the first payment deed, that people buy the land of their house. And why is that? Because everything that is being built on your land is yours. So we don't let people, let's say, pay installments and then at the end go to the notary and get their house, because their money is not very secure in the meantime if something happens. So when we do things like this, a transaction like this, the client buys the house in the beginning, and then we try to let the clients pay afterwards, after a step is made every time. So the foundations are, so you buy the land, and then the developer makes the foundations, and then you pay afterwards. So the foundations are already yours, the concrete foundations, and it's the risk, the money risk of the developer to get the money, and not of the client. A big advantage of buying off plan is the price. I mean, mostly an off plan property costs 20% less than the same house delivered turnkey. So there's a big advantage in that 1.5 year when people don't have to finance building, when developers use the client's money to finish their building. It has also a very considerable advantage for the buyer. So that's something which is very, and of course you have you have your own say on choosing materials and designing the house in most of the cases. So I would definitely recommend it, but then you have to be able to do some homework and to have a reliable builder and schedule the payments so that there are no financial risks. Okay.
Great, George. To finish up, we're going to talk a little bit about people moving to Greece. Is there's a golden visa, isn't there? Could you just explain how that briefly works?
Yeah, as a general rule, the threshold is 250,000 euros. So when you buy property of 250,000 euros, including costs, you can have a golden visa in Greece, which means that you can stay in Greece, but this also includes your spouse, your children under 21, and your parents. So it's a very broad, let's say, a very broad number of people who can benefit from this rule. Last year, they have there was a new rule which made the threshold higher for Athens, for the big cities, for Athens, Piraeus, Thessaloniki, and the two most expensive islands, Mykonos and Santorini. For these regions, there is a threshold of 500,000, and they did it because they wanted to help the local inhabitants. Because of course, when people had something which costed about 200,000, they raised the price for the foreign buyers, and that was was not very easy for young couples to buy their first home. So the government changed the rules for the three big cities and the two, let's say, more expensive islands. But for the rest of Greece, all over Greece, it's 250,000, which is one of the lowest Europe-wide.
Indeed.
So, yeah.
I was just going to say, I've spoken to a few people who've got this visa already. What's in your experience is a typical timescale for getting one?
We have a lawyer who's specialized on that. Mostly, if it's about 2 to 3 months, no more than that. So yeah, it's not a very time-consuming procedure to finish it.
Perfect. And what about if you've got a property? We've talked about the 9% for purchase costs. What about the ongoing taxes you pay every year for owning a property in Greece?
The yearly taxes are really low in Greece. To give you an example, when you have a house of, let's say, 100 square meters, which is 2 or 3 bedrooms, you pay something like 300 a year, 300 euros a year, which is, I mean, I've lived for 30 years in Holland, and the amount is, let's say, 4 times that for local taxes. The taxes in Greece are really, I mean, for most of the regions in Greece, for holiday houses, it's something like this. So you only pay for the house, for the square meters of a house, for the built square meters, not for the plot. The plot you pay something like 20 euros a year, something really, really almost nothing. But then you pay 3 to 4 euros per square meter per year. In let's say 90% of the holiday house we're talking about. Of course, if you buy a property under the Acropolis, the price is 16 euros instead of 3 per square meter. So, or in Mykonos and Santorini, then you have different tariffs. But 90% of the summer houses in Greece are like something like this, 3 to 4 euros per square meter built.
Yeah, the cost of living in Greece is another plus factor for many people, isn't it? Because outside the, as you say, the most expensive locations, it's actually quite relatively affordable.
Yes, and I mean, utilities, water, if you have a summer house like this, it's like you pay 3 times a year, 60 euros. I mean, you cannot compare it to the water bills you have in the UK or Holland or Belgium or Germany. It's very low.
Yeah, nor the weather, and we love the sun is the main reason people head to Greece, as well as the very welcoming Greek people. So, are there any other things we have? I think we've covered quite a lot of interesting information there. Is there any other things we have to flag up, or how should people get in contact with you, George?
Yes. There's one, let's say, final remark I would like to make. At this moment, if you compare Greece to the other, let's say, South European countries, Greece has a very big comparative advantage, and that's the prices, except the sun and the hospitality and the cost of living. If you have the same house, let's say, if we take an example of a house, let's say, with a very nice sea view near the beach, like 500 meters from the beach, in Greece, you can find something like this in Crete with 250,000, 350,000 euros, something like this. The same house, if you have it in Italy, it costs 2 times or sometimes 3 times more. The southern of France is 7, 8 times more than that. Spain, you cannot even compare it because it's all built with high buildings from Barcelona to Gibraltar. I mean, you cannot even find it. And Portugal is an ocean. It's not the same sea. It's not the same climate. So Greece, because it's also so wanted as far as tourism is concerned the last years, Greece is very, very much in demand at this moment. I had a research that at this moment there are about 3 million people having, let's say, a budget of around 300,000 euros who want to invest and protect it also from the inflation. So in this category, we really have sometimes waiting lists. We have projects of 25 houses in Crete with prices from 250 to 350 euros, 100,000 euros, and they were sold out in 2.5 months. So if people want have plans to do it, something like this, don't wait, because prices are going up. They have to catch up with the rest of Europe. And when you have a certain amount of deposits, if you wait 1 or 2 years, most probably in 2 years you cannot buy it anymore because prices have risen. So if you want to do it now. And yeah, there's a very nice return on investment also. And if people want to get in contact with us, they can see our listings at elxis.com. And we're in most of the platforms, real estate platforms. People can see us on Instagram. Yeah, we're quite present everywhere at this moment. What we do is very unique. No office in Greece does that, doing the legal handling and the real estate work and the renting out of the villas. So yeah, we're growing fast.
A one-stop shop in Greece. Thank you very much,
Yeah.
George. I hope that was useful for everyone listening. Thank you. Goodbye.
You're very welcome, and thank you for having me.